Am I the a-hole for missing most of my daughter's wedding? After she scheduled hers the day after my stepdaughter's wedding, even though I tried to be there? My daughter has always been resentful of my stepdaughter. And growing up, we've had to deal with a lot of issues related to this resentment. The unfortunate reality was that my ex and I had shared custody. So naturally, I saw my daughter less than my stepdaughter. My stepdaughter's biological father passed away, and I've treated her like my own since she was 2. I love them both equally, and I've never shown preferential treatment towards my stepdaughter, something my daughter always accuses me of. In 2019, my stepdaughter sent out a save-the-date for her wedding for a Saturday in September. My daughter immediately called me, furious, and accusing her stepsister of deliberately planning her wedding the day before hers. My daughter sent out her own save-the-date a week later for the Sunday on that same weekend. I talked to my stepdaughter, who said it was pure coincidence, and that she doesn't even talk to my daughter after all those years of them not getting along. The issue is that my daughter's wedding was happening in another state that is 13-hour drive away, and both of them wanted me to walk them down the aisle. All of my extended family chose to attend my daughter's wedding over my stepdaughter's. I did the math, and I calculated that if I left my stepdaughter's wedding at 10 p.m. and drove through the night, I'd make it with 2 hours to freshen up and get ready. Unfortunately, I got lost along the way plus traffic, and I missed the actual wedding ceremony. My daughter's stepfather ended up walking her down the aisle by himself. I feel like I tried my best to make both my children happy, but I failed one of them completely. My stepdaughter and her husband have been attacked on Facebook by my daughter's friends who is claiming that my stepdaughter planned it on purpose. And when I tried to clear up the situation, I was completely shut down. I gave my daughter and son-in-law an additional gift of money to go to Japan, which has always been their dream. It was a lot of money, but I hoped it would be a sort of way for me to ask for forgiveness. They had to postpone their trip because of COVID, but my daughter refuses to even consider any sort of forgiveness. The few times she picks up my calls always ends with her bringing up the wedding and getting angry at me again. I was told by a few members of my family that I was the a-hole for not prioritizing my biological child's wedding and skipping my stepdaughter's wedding instead. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comment. You're the a-hole. Word of advice, Opie. The reason why she isn't satisfied is because she never wanted the money or expensive gifts. She just wanted her dad. I feel like this was a pattern for her growing up. I know it was beyond your control and you say there was no favoritism, but it probably came off that way. You're not an a-hole for trying to be there for both of them. You're the a-hole for being blind thinking you can buy her off. My first thought was to wonder why Opie didn't book a flight instead of driving 13 hours. Surely if Opie has money to splash for a holiday for his daughter, he could have booked a plane and hired a car. Opie replied in one of the comments that it'd take longer. You're the a-hole. You have 2 daughters who were engaged in planning weddings, and you were so disengaged that you didn't even know what month they were both looking at for the wedding. Were you even talking to them about it? Then, knowing that your daughter struggles with you being more present in the stepdaughter's life than hers, you prioritized the stepdaughter's reception over being sure you'd be present at your daughter's wedding. Yeah, I can see why she's upset. You can say you have good intentions, but that's not going to change the perception that she has. That you didn't care for years, and even on this day, you picked someone else. Hard disagree. I'm wedding planning right now, and I guarantee that my parents don't know our date off the top of their heads, especially because these things change as venues and catering and such are figured out. The entire purpose of a save the date is to share your finalized date and location with your family and guests. Info. Was your first time hearing about these weddings the day you received the save the dates? Did neither of your daughters share possible dates with you beforehand? Was my daughter invited to stepdaughter's wedding? And why didn't you leave until 10 p.m.? Everyone sucks here. You're bio daughter because she didn't help any of the drama at best, and at worst purposefully caused the drama. You for thinking 2 hours is a good buffer after a 13-hour drive that you started at 10 p.m. after a wedding, you would have walked down that aisle looking like a zombie even after a shower. Rude to your daughter. For not leaving until 10 p.m. Friend's opinion or not, you did choose your stepdaughter over your bio daughter. If you expect your bio daughter to get over her bio father who was supposed to walk her down the aisle not even being there, why wouldn't you expect your stepdaughter to understand that you had to leave her party to walk your other daughter down the aisle? The way you phrased the "unfortunately stepdaughter lived with me full time, so I had more time with her," in my opinion, sounds like a justification for the same performative effort but lack of actual effort and care taken in this matter. You are at fault at least as much as her in this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my aunt to my wedding and saying she's not invited to my bridal shower? My Aunt Diane, fake name, isn't someone who's a nice person. She, my dad, and her sister, my other aunt, do not get along. They're always feuding over politics and BS. I haven't seen her in years, and she's largely been absent from my life. This summer, both my sister and I are getting married. My sister and I are in vastly different fields. I work for a software company as a designer, and my sister's becoming a doctor. We're just very different people with different interests. But for some reason, Aunt Diane always feels the need to brag about my sister on Facebook, even though she's not a part of her life either. She'll post things about how proud of her she is, how wonderful she is, and had never once felt the need to do that about me. Normally, I would just brush it off because I really don't care what she thinks. She's just a sad woman. The background behind why I don't want her at my wedding is this. I got engaged a full year before my sister. My fiancé and I have been together almost 10 years now and have just not been in a rush to get married. I didn't think twice about not getting a congratulatory comment/post from her. But when my sister got engaged a year later, she posted multiple things on Facebook about their engagement, about her fiancé, about the ring, etc. That's when I lost it. I told my parents she was under no circumstances invited to my wedding or shower. I was the one who sent the wedding invite, so I never sent one to her. I'm pretty sure my dad, her brother, just told her she wasn't invited because she couldn't come anyway. I just went to my sister's shower the other day, and my Aunt Betty told me that Aunt Diane would absolutely be attending my shower. I told her this was news to me since she wasn't invited to my wedding. My mom looked mortified and got pissed at me. I refuse to have someone attend my wedding who's made it clear she doesn't care about me. Am I the a-hole for not inviting her? Edit. Someone mentioned this and I want to clear this up. My aunt does not have a closer relationship with my sister versus me. Neither one of us has spoken to her in 20 plus years. We just happen to all be Facebook friends. She's never reached out to either of us prior to my sister starting medical school. And my aunt and I are no longer Facebook friends. Lol. Not the a-hole. You're not under any obligation to invite anyone. It's your celebration, so you get to decide who to celebrate with. Also, under no obligation to be Facebook friends with anyone you don't want to. Not the a-hole, but it might be a good idea to communicate with Diane directly and explain that she is not invited. Maybe record conversation. I offered to reach out to her personally about this decision, and my parents told me absolutely not. I'm an adult and feel that I'm the one who owes her this explanation. I hate being fake. As you say, you're an adult. Perhaps it's time to not let your parents control how you communicate with your aunt. Tactfully respecting her parents' wishes about how to interact with her aunt isn't the parents controlling her communication. There hasn't been any escalation here on the part of the aunt. If she starts talking trash on Facebook, then it would be worth confronting her regardless of the parents' wishes. Right now, though, OP doesn't need to ring her up and say, "I'm not inviting you because blank." That would be OP escalating the situation and inviting conflict. Exactly. I'm not letting my parents control me. I'm just respecting them and not causing a blowout fight. Not the a-hole. My wife and I work in weddings, and I'm gonna tell you the same thing we tell every one of our couples. It's your day, not theirs. And if you don't want someone at your wedding, then you don't need to have them there. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for lying to my mother about keeping contact with ex-step family? Male 19. I lived alone with my mom for all my childhood. But around 11, my mom started a relationship with a dude who hated me and whom I hated. However, he had 2 daughters that came living with us, all whom I loved. Brotherly sons. Since he was a prick to me, and sadly, my mom was a prick to them, it was the world against us 3. I still got out of this home around 16 years old and went living in a college town. I supply myself 100%. Food, my college, rent, car, etc. And I'm 19 now. But I kept coming back at least every 2 weeks to see my sisters and do something with them. They're 13 and 14 today, by the way. My mom and ex-stepfather broke up in January, and my mom specifically asked me to not have any contact with any of the step family. But I couldn't abandon my sisters. I still visit them every week almost because they're my chosen family. And ex-stepfather is not the best parent. I help them in homework or online school, take them for activities. I had to help the eldest buy her first tampons and get her the pill to help menstrual cramp. In short, I try to help them. My mom found out and got really mad that I still talk to her ex in order to keep contact with my sisters, even though I've always hated him. She threatened to stop all of her financial help. I got mad and told her I'd been living without any help for the last 3 years, which is true. She got even madder and threatened to not even acknowledge me until I asked for forgiveness and stopped seeing them. I haven't talked to her for the last 2 months. She won't even respond to me. I want to have a good relationship with her, but I can't let go of my sisters. I hate her for this, but feel guilty for this at the same time. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom brought them into your family, then expects you to abandon them? Your mom is an a-hole. Thank you. Dude, you're a good man. Your sister needs you more than your mom does. Keep being there for them. So basically, your mom wanted you to play family for 8 years because she fell in love, and now she wants you to stop being family because she broke up? It doesn't work that way. It's amazing you have a good connection with your steps. Don't give it up. Not the a-hole. You disobeyed your mom's wishes. Check. But does she have any authority whatsoever over you? Nope. This is not about her. This is your life, and tell her to mind her own business. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Blood is really the smallest part of what makes someone family. There's no reason to feel guilty about maintaining your relationship with them. That's what I tend to think. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for comparing my mom and her husband to people my in-laws dislike as a way of making it clear where I stood? Confusing title, so I will explain. When I was 8, my dad died. I was the second of 4 kids. My older brother was 10, my sister was 6, and my younger brother 4. Mom married her husband 11 months after our dad died. He was a widower 14 months with 4 of his own kids, ages 11, 9, 7, and 5. The blending was done in the worst way. Met months after our parents died, moved in 11 weeks after meeting, and they were married with some family around 2 weeks after moving in together. It was pretty much said we were family now, not a blended family. He was dad, she was mom, and we were siblings. Me, my older brother, and his 3 older kids struggled. We hated the steps. We did not want to blend. We cried for our parents. Nobody got any therapy. Adoption was pushed, but thankfully mine and my brother's voices as well as the voices of his older 2 were listened to. But his 7-year-old was adopted by our mom because he was considered too young to decide. They ended up having 4 more kids together. It broke pretty spectacularly, and I don't speak to my mom or her husband, and I don't see or speak to his kids. The only reason I ever see them is because of my younger siblings, and the fact they consider him dad and are close with them. Anyway, my husband, son, and I were at my younger sister's housewarming thing. She invited my in-laws. In-laws were always aware I didn't come from a close or happy family. They knew when I didn't invite my mom to my wedding or introduced her to my son. But we were there, and I told them they were like the parents from the TLC show The Blended Bunch, just a little less twisted. My in-laws hate the show and hate the couple there, and for them, it was all they needed to know. Apparently my mom's husband overheard and they made it a big deal, even telling my sister what I said. She told them it was no secret I didn't like them, and not to make it a big deal. But my cousin and aunt went and told me I was a witch, and I should let the past go, have a relationship with my parents, which makes me sick because he is not my parent. But I do wonder if the comment at the place and time was wrong, and maybe it makes me a bit of a prick. My older brother found it hilarious, but he shares the sentiment. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mom married another guy in less than a year. You weren't allowed proper time to mourn and lived in a literal hell. Anyone saying that you should leave the past behind should take a seat and stay quiet, especially those who have a warm and loving home with loving parents. You didn't have that privilege, so those who do can't just stay quiet. Why is it that the leave the past behind folks are always the ones who mistreat you? And they never apologize. They just want you to stop being mad/hurt about their horrible actions. Then they're horrible all over again. Not today, Hall. Yes, it was the wrong place and time, but the shoe fits so well. Not today, Hall. Wow, I am so incredibly sorry you had to deal with that. I was reading this with my jaw dropped at how horribly everything was handled. Not today, Hall. This is one of the rare occasions when you're actually around your mom and her husband, and you should have been more discreet. But you didn't say it to intentionally cause conflict or drama. So for me, I think it falls in the category of honest mistake. Your cousin and aunt were out of line. They decided to create the scene, not you, and telling you to let the past go is not appropriate. Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out after she said I was treating my dog like a servant? I, female 27, recently moved into my new house. I have a golden retriever named Nala, and she's the sweetest. I'm deaf too, and that bit is important. When I moved in, I had a bit of trouble having flashing light doorbells put in, and there was a while I had to go without. My friends and family know to give me a call when they drop by, instead of ringing the doorbell, but unfortunately I have missed many a package this way. For some reason, Nala caught onto this. At one point, she began letting me know when someone was at the door. She'd do this in multiple ways. If I was in the living room where I can see the front door, she'd go and paw at the door. Or if I was upstairs, she'd come and gently headbutt me to let me know someone's there. It took me a while to catch on to what she was trying to do though. And now, even though I have my doorbell installed, she still does it. I did not teach her how to do any of this. She just decided to help me out. Lol. Recently, I brought a friend over for the first time. This was the first time she's met Nala as well. The first thing she comments on is how I named her Nala, because apparently everyone and their grandma names their golden Nala. Well, Lion King was my favorite movie growing up. Sue me. Then I showed her a video of Nala pawing at the door because it got a bit awkward after that comment. It's usually a great icebreaker. She laughed and thought it was cute. I showed her another one and she asked me why Nala was doing that and I explained. She doesn't say anything for a minute and then goes, "So she's basically your servant? Is she just here to get the door?" I was thoroughly done with her judgmental butt by that point, and I just asked her to leave. She left, but she did message me afterwards saying I was rude AF for kicking her out after she traveled all the way to see me, and that how else was she supposed to think of my dog with videos like that? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Maybe you should get Nala to show your friend a door. Yes, not the a-hole. Opie sounds like a great dog owner. The friend is the one that is not knowledgeable about dogs, and it was right to ask her to leave for how they were acting. Not the a-hole. Nala sounds like a wonderful dog. So smart. And you sound like an excellent dog parent. Clearly your friend doesn't know anything about dogs, particularly golden retrievers, who thrive in having jobs to do. Good for you for asking your friend to leave after her rude and judgmental comments. That was my first thought too. She clearly doesn't understand dog psychology. For my interpretation, sounds like the friend needs to learn that not every thought or opinion needs to be voiced. Think my choice of dog name is overrated or cheesy? Fine, but keep it to yourself. Not the a-hole. How else is she supposed to think? How about think that this dog is more than a dog? Somehow this dog realized that its owner had a disability and found a way to help with that. Out of love. This is actually one of the most beautiful things I have ever heard. Your friend trying to turn it into some sort of animal exploitation story is twisted and awful. It speaks volumes that she would immediately go there, as opposed to seeing the sweet animal as anything other than a caring friend. Actually kind of gross. Many dogs love having jobs and interacting with their owners. Other animals do too. I tend to notice that some people who don't have animals in their lives often don't understand that animals not only like doing stuff for/with/alongside humans, animals even seek humans out. They just jump to cruelty, animal mistreatment, slavery, immediately without evidence. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling her I'd never choose her over my dog? I got a dog 2 years ago. She's a perfect corgi mix, super loving, and is always happy to see me. But she has issues that my fiancé of 6 years has never been able to get over, such as resource guarding and anxiety. My dog whines more often than not. Like if I leave the room, she whines. If I walk out to leave, she will bolt out at the door going 110 miles per hour and whine at the car door because she doesn't want me to leave without her. She never bonded with my fiancé. She absolutely tried, but my dog never cared, to be blunt. She's a one-person dog, and I'm her person. Now, the issue is that my fiancé recently found out that she's pregnant. We were told this was impossible and had planned our life out not involving children because we were seriously told by numerous doctors that she could not conceive. She's absolutely terrified. Well, I'm completely indifferent because I was on defense about kids anyways. And then I was told she couldn't have any, so I was expecting a kid-free life and was fine with it. I mean, we are freaking 30 already. But regardless, there is a piece of me that is stupid excited. So I'm sure my mind will eventually be full-on excited versus kind of put off. The issue is that my wife doesn't want my dog around a baby because of the dog's resource guarding. There are some days where my fiancé can't even get close to me without my dog losing her mind. And she does nip, herding mix. Not hard, but still nips. Yes, she's been in and out of training. She's also in meds for anxiety. Nothing has helped, but if anything, she has regressed. So she doesn't want the dog around our baby. A part of me understands, but a much, much bigger part of me is completely unwilling to let go of my dog, who my fiancé doesn't like anyways. It almost feels like she thinks this is her excuse to get rid of my dog. So anyways, we got into a heated argument about it and I finally snapped and said, I would never freaking choose you over my dog. And I left. Stayed at a hotel for a few days and we didn't speak. I came back today with my dog and she won't even look at me. The second me or the dog walk anywhere near her, she makes a point to walk in the opposite direction. My friends are on my side, but I want unbiased feedback. You're the a-hole. Wow, man. Your fiancé was in your life before the dog was. And in theory, it will be after the dog is ashes and dust. The dog is poorly trained and likely to be unsafe around children. And you're choosing the dog over your future wife? WTF. You'd almost have a point if the dog was in your life first. But there is zero chance I'm staying with someone who tells me that they'd take our new pet over me. No, it is not relevant whether the dog was there first. If you have a dog that resource guards, to the point where the fiancé risks getting bit by going near him, you get rid of the dog before the baby comes. End of story. You're the a-hole. This is coming from someone who really dislikes babies. Your dog guarding you from your wife will quickly turn into your dog guarding you from your child. Think about how that will make your child feel. Terrified that a dog who nips their heels will keep them away from their father. That will hamper your relationship with your child. You made your stance clear though. I hope she's either preparing to become a single mother or calling the nearest abortion clinic. You won't be an equal parent, as you're unable to think about the child's needs. Does anyone else get the sense that OP is likely foster this guarding behavior? All the training in the world doesn't mean anything if it's not consistently followed through at home. And OP seems like he enjoys being his dog's only person. You're the a-hole. All around a post hurt my stomach. As someone who just got engaged, if my fiancé said anything like this to me, I'd not only be crushed, but I'd consider this the end of the relationship. You're the a-hole. Why are you with someone you clearly don't even like at a basic level? Your dog will attack your child if you don't do something. What the actual heck is wrong with you? That you don't care that your dog might off your kid? My dog is not going to off the kid. That's dramatic. Dogs have offed children all the time. And yes, the dog can. You aren't taking this seriously. You rather lose fiancé and a child over a dog. Listen, I love my dogs, and I will put myself at risk for them, but never a child. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband and in-laws that our children do not need to attend their older sister's housewarming party? My husband and I have 3 biological children together. He adopted my child from a prior relationship, and I am a stepmother to his adult child. My husband was divorced from my stepdaughter's mom. She was 8 when my husband and I became serious, and my son was still a baby. Not long after my stepdaughter's mom died, My husband and I had talked about marrying before she died, and we delayed it for a couple of years to allow my stepdaughter time to grieve and adjust to the changes in her life. This was with the help of therapy, of course, as we knew a child who lost someone so close would need extra help. Now my stepdaughter is 20, my son is 12, and our children together are 7, 6, and 4. So what happened here is my stepdaughter and her boyfriend recently moved into a house together. She asked for help setting up their dining room, and we all went over to help her. Her house was covered in photos. The landing had them, living room, kitchen, etc. There was not a single photo of her siblings in the house, or me. But it was not seeing one of the kids that led to this. She had her parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, her cousins, and friends, but there was no sign of the kids anywhere. All of the photos with her dad were older ones from before we met. My 12-year-old, 7 and 6-year-olds noticed too, because they were excited to look around her house. I also couldn't help but notice, because her boyfriend had so many of his siblings, and because there were some of what felt like deliberate choices to make sure she used photos that didn't contain her siblings, including extended family photos from years ago with my husband's side that were taken before her dad and I met. And we know she has photos with her siblings. I always knew she wasn't super crazy about her siblings. I always hoped as she got older she would feel love for them. But it feels like she doesn't think of them as family, or as special enough to be included. The 3 kids who noticed were hurt. My husband tried to assure them it was likely an oversight on her part, and he called her the next day to ask, and she said she had only wanted photos with people she considered family, and she didn't consider us family. We were all invited to her housewarming party, but the kids did not want to go. My husband and in-laws were shocked and said they had to go, of course. I argued that they didn't, and I told them I would stay home with them. They argued back to me that the kids needed to be. I said that they did not need to be there, and I wouldn't force them to go when they already feel hurt. My husband and in-laws think I'm unreasonable. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your stepdaughter likely doesn't even want them there. She flat out stated that she doesn't consider them family. I'm sure that's not what your husband wants to hear, but you can't force a relationship. Yeah, I feel like this is an invitation out of obligation, and she's expecting them to refuse to attend due to what happened. Either that or it's a gift grab. Either way, OP is not the a-hole. Stepdaughter can put up whatever pictures she wants in her house, but her manner of explaining it was rude as heck. It being a gift grab makes no sense. Since her dad is still going, she's getting the same amount of presents if her stepmom and half-siblings go or not. Agreed. Likely she is just being polite so her dad will come. Not the a-hole. She clearly told him she doesn't consider the kids family. She's not changing her mind. Making it so the kids are optional, rather than forcing them together at the expense of the younger kids, is going to be better for everyone's relationships. Not the a-hole. But to be very clear, this isn't a judgment on your stepdaughter's decisions regarding her photos, but it's a judgment on your choice to stay home with your children. They should not have to go be subjected to her overt display of her feelings to exclude them from her definition of family. No one should have to be subjected to that. The little ones have the right to make their decisions just as she has. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my future sister-in-law that I don't have time to be her maid of honor? I, 25 female, have been married to my husband, 29 male, for a few years now. He has a younger brother who recently got engaged. I have known his brother's girlfriend for 4 years, but we're not extremely close, though we hang out whenever there's a family get-together. Anyways, for a bridal party, she asked me to be the maid of honor. She has 4 other bridesmaids, composed of cousins and old school friends. I told her that I'm very grateful that she has asked me, but unfortunately, I don't have the time to do all the things expected of a maid of honor. I just had my first baby in November, and it's a lot, and she has expressed wanting a bridal shower, bachelorette party, etc. I told her I can just be a regular bridesmaid. She seemed fine, but afterwards my husband told me that she was venting to my brother and telling him that I'm being cold to her. According to her, she thinks I'm lying by saying I'm too busy because I'm on maternity leave and that I have all the time in the world while all her other friends work full-time. My husband agrees with me, but his brother called me said I should try to be accommodating to her. I reconsidered, and I told her that I would be her maid of honor if she covers half of the responsibilities, like planning the bachelorette party. He said he would get back to me. The next day, she calls me and asks me why I'm being so difficult. She says I'm the only one at the bridal party not working, and that I should step up. I told her again that I'm on maternity leave taking care of a baby, and it is actually even more demanding than full-time work. She ended the call quite upset. Am I the a-hole for not being accommodating enough? 1. Maternity leave is not a vacation, and she's delusional to think it is. 2. Even if you were on vacation, why would you give up your free time to run errands for her? She's entirely too entitled. 3. She's asked someone she's not even close to be her maid of honor, based strictly on perceived availability. She's either clueless or friendless, but probably both. I hate that people pick bridesmaids and maid of honors just to make them work and plan everything extra and pay all this extra. My mom and sister ran my bridal shower, so my mom paid. Even still, it wasn't that fancy. My bachelorette was karaoke and dancing and getting manicures. Everyone able to make it paid for themselves. Karaoke was at a Chili's level restaurant. A couple of them helped me dress shop, but only if they were available and interested. One of my closest friend only did stuff on the wedding day because the rest gave her anxiety. These people are celebrating with you, but also doing you a favor. The wedding alone is enough obligation. Not the a-hole. I hate when people treat maternity leave like a vacation. This is what happens in a society that doesn't appreciate parenthood. Exactly. Not the a-hole. I'm a guy who took a few weeks off after each birth of my children. In those weeks, I would do everything except the feeding. And it's hard work, though very satisfying. That, combined with lack of sleep, and for a mom, also a body that went through a lot, it's hard. And I don't envy the new moms. Not the a-hole. If I was you, I would post a question of why she's being so insistent. As you said, you are cordial at family gatherings, but you aren't exactly besties. And a maid of honor needs to be someone that not only has the time to be invested in the wedding, but someone that is invested in the bride as well, as the entire point of the maid of honor is to make everything as smooth for the bride as possible. Was she your maid of honor or something? I just can't wrap my mind in why she would want someone that has a cordial relationship with to fill such a big role. She started dating my husband's brother after I got married, so she didn't play a role in my wedding. I think she asked me to be maid of honor for 2 reasons. 1, I'm on maternity leave, and 2, my husband and I probably earn a bit more than her other friends, so we can contribute more financially to her bridal events. Am I the a-hole for moving to a hotel because my wife's family insisted I sleep on a couch? My wife and I got married last summer. Her family lives across the country from us, so up until this point, I had never actually visited them. But I had met them a handful of times, and we've always gotten along fine. They invited us to come visit and stay with them for a few days, and we took them up on the offer. We flew in yesterday, and everything went well. Her dad and I watched football while she caught up with her mom and sisters, and then we had a really nice dinner. But things went south at the end of the night when it was made clear that they didn't want me sharing a bed with my wife while in their home, and that they expected me to sleep on a couch. I honestly thought they were joking at first, but they insisted we sleep separately. I had a problem with the implication that I shouldn't be allowed to sleep next to my wife, and I also have a bad back, and a couch did not look the least bit comfortable as they don't have a guest room. After arguing back and forth for a bit, I decided to leave and book a hotel. I told my wife she didn't have to come with me. She chose to stay and I said I'd come back the next day. I went off to a Marriott about 10 minutes away and got a good night's sleep, trying to not let the whole situation bother me. This morning, I called my wife asking when I should come by. She told me her parents want me to apologize for leaving the way I did. I told her that I'm willing to apologize to keep the peace, but they need to acknowledge that it wasn't appropriate to insist I can't share a bed with my own wife. She said she'd talk to them and call me back. About 10 minutes later, I heard back from her and she tells me that not only will they not apologize for it, they are now insisting I need to come back and stay on the couch for the rest of our visit. And if I don't agree to this, I'm not welcome back in the house. I'm pretty livid at this point. I told her that there's absolutely no chance that I will do that, and I am no longer willing to offer any sort of apology. My wife's sisters are now bothering me saying this is just the way their parents are, that my wife is very upset, and that I need to just give in and stay on the couch for the rest of the trip before this turns into some sort of family feud. From my perspective, I don't care what they think, and I'm willing to treat the rest of this trip as a solo vacation, go sightseeing, and meet my wife back at the airport at the end of the week. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. What kind of people are these? Are they deeply religious, right-wing evangelical types? Your in-laws are definitely the a-holes. I would never visit them again. Believe it or not, they're actually super liberal Bernie supporters. They do go to church on the regular, but I never expected this sort of behavior from them. This is unlikely to be about religion or politics then. This is about them not respecting your wife as an adult and you as her partner. Not the a-hole. Your in-laws are abhorrent hosts. It's their house, their rules, and their rules are stupid. Rather than fighting a pointless battle, you set a clear and valid boundary, and they chose to take offense to it. They want you to stay on their couch because it's a power play. You staying in a hotel takes that power away, and they can't handle it. The fact that your wife doesn't have your back on this is a giant red flag. Good luck. I just saw a similar story like this on Pet Revenge. Wait until they come visit you, offer them a place to stay, then insist your father-in-law sleep on the couch. Your house, your rules. Not the a-hole. Tell your wife you're going to book your ticket home for today. Ask her if she wants you to change her ticket to go home with you, or if she wants you to cancel it because she'd rather live with her parents forever. I thought about it, but I've already taken the week off and the weather here is much nicer than where we live. I have no problem just spending the week by myself at the beach. Next story. Am I the a-hole for insisting that I know exactly why my sister-in-law wants to come stay with my wife and I before I agree? My wife, 36 female, and I, 38 male, have been married for 10 years and have 2 kids, 7 and 4. My wife has a younger sister, Beth, 25 female. Beth and I don't get along very well, but we are cordial, and she's a good aunt to our kids. Beth got engaged to her high school sweetheart last summer, and their wedding is scheduled for this coming summer. But last week, my wife came to me and told me that Beth wants to come stay with us for a while. I immediately started asking questions because Beth lives over 2 hours away from us and usually plans visits out weeks in advance. My wife told me that it is a personal matter and that I need to respect Beth's privacy in that regard. I asked my wife how long Beth would be staying, and she told me that she doesn't know, and that all she will tell me is that the wedding is currently on hold and that Beth needs a place to stay for a bit. I said that if I'm going to agree to an open-ended stay from someone who I don't get along with very well, I feel like I have a right to at least know why that person is going to be staying with us. My wife told me that it's a personal matter, and that she has agreed with Beth's request to keep it private, and that if Beth wants to tell me about it, she will on her own. I told her that I don't really feel comfortable with that kind of plan, and that I would like some more information before I agree to it. At that point, my wife got upset with me and told me that she isn't looking for my approval because she's already told Beth that she can come stay with us. She reiterated that I need to respect Beth's privacy on this and that she needs me to just trust her on this. I told her I do trust her, but that she's asking for a pretty big thing without giving me much information, and that I don't feel comfortable going into something like this completely blind. She said that Beth needs family support and we are the only ones who can give that to her. My wife's dad passed away during the pandemic, and her mom is already in an assisted living facility. She told me that she needs me to just be caring and kind to Beth, and to not bring up anything related to her engagement or wedding unless Beth brings it up to me first. I told her that I don't appreciate being left in the dark about something that is resulting in another adult living in our house for an open-ended period of time. She told me that she just needs me to trust her and be supportive of her sister. I kept trying to get more information, but my wife eventually snapped at me to just stop asking questions because she's not telling me anything else and I need to just shut up and do this for her and her sister. She did immediately apologize, but told me that she needs me to do this for her because it's important and that she doesn't want to hear one more thing about why Beth is staying with us. I tried to ask at least how long Beth would be staying, but she cut me off and said, "What the hell did I just say about questions?" Not the a-hole. Everyone is acting like it's obvious what is going on, but that doesn't seem to be the case to me at all. Sister-in-law has an emergency situation that requires privacy is all you know, and I do believe you reasonably should know why she's moving in. Is sister-in-law in danger? Is sister-in-law afraid of her fiancé or suffering from domestic violence? Is sister-in-law bringing danger to your own household? Is sister-in-law coping with mental health issues? Is your own family properly equipped to provide the help that she needs while maintaining your own well-being? To me, sister-in-law needs to stay with us and the reasons are a deep secret is not sufficient. Yes, there are other plausible explanations such as cheating that are embarrassing that sister-in-law would prefer to keep private. But I believe your wife and sister-in-law should provide more information for you to form your own comfort with the situation and understand what it is you're dealing with. Not to form some moral judgment of the situation, but you deserve a say in this. There is a whole spectrum between we are taking a break, wedding on hold, to domestic violence. At the very least, the wife needs to come clean about what they are doing going forward, both for the husband and the kids in the house. Is the ex likely to come by looking to meet with his sister for either reconciliation or something more nefarious? Are we telling people she is staying with us, or is it incognito? If the kids answer the phone and it's their uncle, who presumably they've met, what do they say? What does the husband say if he calls, etc.? Those are the basic safety considerations I've had to consider in the past when friends have had to stay with us. And it doesn't need to get into who was cheating on who or other drama. Just tell him what to expect going forward is a basic courtesy, versus being so mysterious, and basically telling him he isn't authorized to know anything in his own house. Not the a-hole, but I'm pretty sure it is along the lines of either Beth cheating or her fiancé cheating. Also, your wife needs to understand she can't make unilateral decisions regarding things like this. Give her a deadline that Beth can stay for a week. Otherwise, she can leave the house with Beth. It's not a reason of why Beth is staying is important, but the timelines and lack of communication. That makes me call you not the a-hole, but your wife is a major a-hole. Something tells me that if it was the fiancé who had cheated, Opie would have been told that by his wife. Maybe the shameful secret is that the sister cheated, and that is why the wife doesn't want to tell her husband. Money is on the sister-in-law cheating, hence the don't ask. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take a DNA test to confirm my fiancé and I are not related because I'm uncomfortable sharing my DNA with big business? So my 27 male, fiancé 26 female is adopted. She was adopted at birth and hasn't had any contact with her birth family. She read an article a few months ago about a married couple who were both adopted and found out they were biological siblings 6 years into their marriage. Now, she's worried that might be us, even though I was not adopted. I've explained to her over and over again that my parents have been faithful to each other, so there is no way we are siblings. She still wants us to get tested, in case there is an uncle or other relative of mine that slept around. She knows her birth mother was a prostitute, and our families lived in the same major city. I think she's being ridiculous. I don't want to waste $200 on us getting tested. I don't want to have my DNA sitting on some database where it can be hacked into. I also don't want my data sitting on a website where anyone connected to my tree can find me. It weirds me out. I told her I wasn't comfortable with her getting tested either, because who knows what skeletons her biological family has in the closet. I don't want her to find out if she's related to bad people and then be upset. I also don't want half of my future kids' genetic makeup sitting in some confidential corporate database. I told her all of this, but she still brings it up. I may have crossed a line today when I told her she was being disrespectful of my family by indicating one of them may have abandoned their child. She started crying and left, and now she's not answering any of my phone calls or texts, and her sister is calling me an a-hole for saying mean things about her biological family. As far as I'm concerned, they abandoned her, so they are dead to me and I don't owe them any respect. On the other hand, they're genetically related to her, so maybe by proxy I'm calling her a deadbeat too? I still don't want either of us to do the test, but I have a feeling this isn't going to blow over. So am I the a-hole if I continue standing firm and refuse to get tested? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Dude, you could just go to your medical provider, explain the situation, and have them run a comparison. It's really not rocket science, and the results don't need to be stored or skeletons unearthed. But it is an easy way to get the answer your future wife is after unsettling her mind. As to the reasoning for the doc, we are thinking of having children and there is valid concern that we are related. Please have our DNA compared. I didn't realize this was an option, but it sounds like a good compromise if it isn't too expensive. I'll look into it. You would have known it was an option if you had looked into options when your fiancé first mentioned her concerns. If it is this important to her, the fiancé could have done the same. You're the a-hole. I was going to go with no a-holes here until I read your last stanza. That is plain mean, man. You are insulting her birth parents while even she doesn't know much about them. Her concerns are also more severe than yours. How could she be feeling safe and happy with you with questions like that lurking in her head? This will definitely not blow over. You'd be wiser to give in. I decided he was the a-hole when he said he doesn't want her to take the DNA test. He's allowed to be private about his own DNA, and he has to respect her choice to share her DNA and find her birth family. He's decided for her that finding her birth family is pointless. You're the a-hole. My dad was a monster. I know that fear of sleeping with a relative, and it's horrible. My father-in-law was also adopted, so knowing that we both had mystery backgrounds prompted me to join their DNA collector of choice, especially before we have kids. Your outlook on adoption is revolting. Pretending it's some easy thing? Wow. And on top of it all, your BS reasons and why she can't do it. She has valid concerns, and you pretending your family is skeleton-free will bite you one day. Break up with her. You don't take her concerns seriously, and I wonder what other concerns you won't take seriously in the future. Opie didn't pretend it was easy. He pretended anyone who gives up their kid is a terrible person, which is so wrong. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my ex for help when my daughter had her period? I do not in any way, shape, or form limit contact or communication between my ex and our kids. My ex works out of town. She works for 2 weeks and then gets a week off. I used to do that schedule as well, but I now work from home as a maintenance planner. When we divorced, I got primary custody of our daughter and son since I was the one available to do the parenting. I have very little interest in discussing anything with my ex. Yes, there is a lot of bitterness and recrimination in our relationship. I loved my ex with all my heart, and while I always thought she was beautiful, it wasn't as easy for other people to see. However, when you are one of a dozen women in a 2,000-man work camp, you get a lot of attention. That's all I'm going to say about that. My daughter is 10 years old and she just got her first period. I grew up with sisters and I am not a complete idiot, so I had read up on what to do. I had also talked to my mom and sisters about it. I had been prepared since she was 8. I gave her the boxes of pads and tampons. I explained to her that it was normal and healthy. I watched a video with her that was a tutorial on what to do. I also asked her if she would like to talk to either my sister or the woman I'm seeing about how to do everything right. She said that she understood and would like to talk to my sister on the weekend. After dinner on Saturday, my sister talked to me about it. She said that I had gotten the basics correct and there was only a couple of things she needed to explain or correct. My ex called to talk to the kids yesterday and afterwards yelled at me on the phone. She called me an a-hole for excluding her from a milestone in her daughter's life. I asked her if it had happened during her week with the kids if she would have told me about it. She said that was the point. It was a mother-daughter thing and that I took it away from her. I said it was a parent-kid medical issue and that made it a me thing. I am a man, so maybe I just don't get it. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You handled the situation very well and managed to teach your daughter everything she needed to know, as well as redirecting her to people who could also advise her. I don't see the need for you to have immediately gone to tell your ex about her first period, especially considering that it was already happening, although it might have been nice if you told her after you figured it out. Anyway, well done. Seriously, if every father/brother/man treated their daughters/sisters with such respect, the world would be such a better place. Not the a-hole. It's a natural and normal part of your daughter's life. You are her parent and guardian. Your daughter can decide to share that info or not. You did absolutely nothing wrong tending to her immediate needs. Exactly. With my first period, my mom told my entire family, excluding a few uncles. It was already embarrassing, and once she told me who else she told, I wanted to die of embarrassment. I completely agree that it should be up to the daughter who she tells that she got her first period, as long as one adult is told so they can teach her what is happening. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't pay for my daughter's college tuition? I, 44 male, am divorced and have been for over 10 years now. My ex-wife and I have 2 children, one son Ben, 19, and one daughter Lauren, 17. My ex-wife and I split custody 50-50, and I paid child support on time every month, as well as ensured our children had everything that they needed for sports and other activities. At a young age, I started a college fund/early life starter fund for the kids, which they were aware of, and has grown to be a large amount through the years. Over the years, I have always had my children on my time and tried to be present in their lives. Ben has always been happy to come to my home, have family time, tell me about his life, have a father-son role pretty much. Lauren, on the other hand, is the total opposite. She pulled away at a young age, and when she was old enough to decide for herself, she cut me out pretty much 100%. I spent years of reaching out to her and trying to build some type of bridge with her, but nothing ever worked. She went to a few different therapists, and I can only hope it helped in some other aspects of her life, but it certainly didn't help in a family role. Over the past few years, my son has become angry with his sister and calls her ridiculous. I've told him to not mind that and it's not her fault, but him leaving for college changed me on the whole thing. When he left, I felt like I lost my only child, and I gave up trying to have a relationship with Lauren. She never reached back out, and neither did I. It felt terrible at first, but it's much easier to deal with mentally for me. A few weeks ago, Lauren and her mother reached out to talk about her college tuition and where she had decided to go. They asked me if I wanted to go walk the school with them again, and I declined. I told them that I felt I was only being invited because my checkbook was needed. I informed my ex and Lauren that I would not be paying for college or any other of her expenses after her 18th birthday, June, and that I was going to use the money elsewhere. My ex blew up at me. My daughter didn't say anything, and when they told my son, he called to tell me he thought I was right and Lauren was to blame. I wasn't a fan they told him to begin with. However, now there's a rift between the three of them. Should I just let this whole thing go and pay for her education? Would I be the a-hole if I stuck to my decision? Now for the top comments. Info. Why did she cut you off? You leave a very important detail out. When my ex and I divorced, my ex kept our house, which was close to her friends and family. I moved to the other side of town, maybe 25 minutes away. She pulled away after I moved out and has told me that she wants to spend time with her friends and grandparents. Just to say, I voted not a-hole. Is it possible that your daughter blames you for the breakup, or was it a take sides kind of situation? My ex-wife's entire family blames everything on me. My ex-wife's sister was having an affair. I found out she was covering for her sister's whereabouts and why, and told her husband. Not a-hole. I do not understand Reddit's hive mind to spout that parents should accept their children's hurtful behavior, especially when they're old enough to know that their actions hurt. I also don't get why someone who goes no contact is entitled to someone to fund their lifestyle after no longer being a minor. Parents are human beings. They aren't infallible individuals with no feelings. Lauren is being incredibly selfish and extremely entitled to think she should be funded for college by a person she has chosen to exit a relationship with. OP is not a walking bank. You spent time reaching out, and she has blocked it every term. At some point, this adult, because college students are adults, has to recognize there are consequences to your actions. I think Ben is completely right. Your ex-wife should be blowing up at you. She should have spent those previous years helping her daughter to therapy to understand this intense dislike. Lauren went to therapy, and Daddy basically blew her off when she was 10 because she wasn't the daughter he wanted. Now he's further punishing her by taking away her college fund at near last minute. No, he isn't punishing her. She chose to not have a relationship with him. Going no contact means no contact. It means no financial banking. She was a child. Technically, she's still a child. And his last-minute withdrawing money that was set aside starting years ago with the expectation that it would be used for her college, that is punishment. And now she's going to be an adult with adult responsibilities. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for preventing my ex from moving 3 hours away with our kids? It's created huge conflicts in both households now. My ex-wife blindsided me with news that she was moving 3 hours away with her fiancé because he got a better paying job. And the kids, who are 11 and 14, wanted to move too. I have week-on/week-off custody. There was no way I was giving up that for just every other weekend visitation. I then found out that her fiancé had already sold his home here and had bought another one there. I immediately went to court to get an emergency order preventing the move. My ex begged me to let her go, but I refused. In the end, she was prevented from taking the kids more than 50 kilometers from where I live. Unfortunately, the fiancé broke up with my ex because of this, and she has had to move in with her mother while she looks for an apartment because she can't afford a big house anymore. I would like to say that I won, but I didn't. My kids are now extremely angry with me for causing their mother to lose her fiancé. They hate living cooped up in their grandmother's home and are now taking out all their anger in our household. They've said some heartbreaking stuff to me and my wife. My ex, who I used to co-parent amazingly with, now does everything she can to create turmoil in my household. She has even verbally told me that she's going to use our kids to break up my marriage as revenge. And my kids have done stuff that make me believe she's going through with her threats. My wife is saying she's at her limit. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted though? I just didn't want to lose my kids. Info. Did you talk to your kids about whether or not they wanted to move before you sought an emergency order preventing it? Might they have been promised some sort of bribe to go? My fear would be that you may have won the battle by preventing the move, but that you stand to lose the war. At 14, your oldest is likely to be old enough to have their wishes given very serious consideration if they no longer want to stay with you. And if your youngest is not yet old enough, they're not far off. They wanted to move, but it was because they were promised a horse at the new house. I felt they were being bribed to be kept away from me. And kids have a say in custody when they're 15 where we live. My youngest is only 11. If this had been a proper discussion, I might have decided differently. But I felt forced to get the emergency order because it happened so last minute. This is probably going to be unpopular, but everyone sucks here. The kids are old enough to decide where they want to be. At any point during this, did you actually talk to them to see what they wanted? It doesn't sound like either of you are actually trying to put the kids first. Edit. Can you elaborate on what your children are doing that's ruining your marriage? At any point during this, did you actually talk to them to see what they wanted? And the kids, who are 11 and 14, wanted to move too. Yeah, I saw that, but I'm still wondering if he actually sat down and had a conversation with them before reacting the way he did. I just wonder if he actually tried to hear them out or just decided their feelings weren't valid. Like saying they only wanted to move due to bribes, which may be true, but did Opie come to that conclusion by having an honest conversation, or did he just decide that himself without listening to them? It could be that they genuinely wanted this new opportunity and they truly just liked their mother's new partner. Totally fair. He replied that it was because they were promised a horse at the new house. So it could have genuinely been bribe motivated. But it could also have been more complex. I do think at their age, their wants should have been considered more seriously than it seems they were. I also find weaponizing your kids to be abhorrent behavior, so I'm fully on board with everyone sucks here. This is awful, but you did not create this situation. She did. Not today, Hall, and the courts agree with you. She had to know this would be a problem, which is why she didn't tell you until it was too late for her to make other reasonable plans. If her fiancé actually broke up with her over this, they didn't have a very strong relationship to begin with. The next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole for making my half-siblings take DNA tests? My dad was a pro athlete. He wasn't famous, but he was a steady presence on a team that was. When his career ended after injury, his first wife divorced him, cleaned him out, and got custody of their kids. Turned his kids against him and never remarried so she wouldn't lose the alimony payments. When Dad met my mom, his ex threw a fit because Mom came from a poor family / wasn't white, and according to his ex, she was a gold-digging hoe because she was pregnant before they got married. My mom died when I was young, and we struggled for money between the payments Dad was making and his injury / lack of education, making it hard for him to get a job. My half-brothers were really well off from his support payments and the money from their mom and her close friend she was living with. Whenever they stayed with us, they made it clear that they were only there because of the custody order and that they thought we were trash. When Dad saw how upset they were making me after my mom died, he stopped asking them to come. Dad passed away a few months ago. His will left everything to me, so I'm basically set for a modest life. As adults, my half-brothers never had contact with him, not even on holidays or his birthday. Suddenly, they're saying that I'm not his. They're going to compel a DNA test, that I influenced his will, and they're taking me to court. I have no doubts that I'm his, thanks to a DNA test I already took years ago for non-paternity reasons that they don't know about. What I am starting to question is if any of them are his sons. Would I be the a-hole for agreeing to take a test, but insisting that they have DNA tests too, knowing that I'm not going to give them anything even if they pass? They and their mother treated my parents and me horribly. And I want to know how far the hypocrisy stretches. I also sincerely want to not have any of them actually be my family. Now for the top comments. Info. What would be the point of demanding DNA tests from these people when it changes nothing? Your father left a will. They are not in the will. DNA does not change that, so what's the point? I think depending on their relation, if nothing is given, they can contest the will, which I assume is why they're taking her to court, so it would just cement the fact they have no rights to anything of the dad's. They already aren't your family. Just go no contact with them. How would they even compel a test? Did your father have a will that said, my stuff goes to my favorite son/daughter, or did it say, my stuff goes to OP? Not they, Hull. They definitely are, but just drop the rope already, for your own mental health. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for trying to stop my dad having a baby with his wife? My 22 female, dad 52 male, and his wife 42 female got married around 8 years ago. She was initially very charming and sweet, but behind closed doors, she became very manipulative a few years into their marriage. I, still in university, moved in with my dad and his wife when I was 19, and she made it clear she didn't want me around. I also became increasingly concerned about the way she treated my dad. I witnessed constant gaslighting, and I could see him beginning to doubt himself all the time. They were also trying for a baby, and his wife had 2 miscarriages over this period of time. My dad let me know that he did not really want a baby. However, he wanted to make her happy. At that point, I did not have any problem with them having a child together. However, there was constant tension in the house, and his wife eventually moved out into a flat nearby. She maintained to my dad that they were still in a relationship, and he remained loyal to her. However, she became unavailable to my dad and was constantly out at bars, being cagey with her phone around him, etc. Basically, it seemed to me that she was stringing him along while possibly seeing other people. That was 14 months ago, and for the past 6 months or so, she has refused to contact my dad in any way other than sending each other letters back and forth. She has also since moved 7 hours away from us, and so her and my dad have not seen each other for around 6 months. About 9 months ago, my dad's mom, my grandma, died, and she did not answer any of his calls during this time period, although she knew what was going on. Recently, my dad has been really unhappy about how unavailable his wife is. He has been drinking much more, and seems really depressed. So the other day when I found one of the letters from my dad's wife to him, I read it. I know this was nosy and invasive, but I did out of concern for my dad. In the letter, she says that she has, as they have agreed, I didn't know this, been going to an IVF clinic and was about to start the screening process. However, the clinic have told her they won't go ahead with screening because her and my dad are no longer together. She then says to my dad that they could get a solicitor to draft a parental agreement, but she says this would cost them thousands of pounds. So she suggested that instead, they both lie to the IVF clinic and say that they are together. It seems to me as if she's trying to dissuade my dad from a legal document which would protect him. To an outsider, it seems very clear that she doesn't want a relationship with my dad, refusing contact, moving 7 hours away, constant ultimatums and game playing. But that she wants to have a baby with him because he will pay for the IVF and will have to pay child support. She does not work. He earns a good amount. I would like to contact my dad's wife. She hasn't spoken to me since my grandma died, if only so she knows someone is onto her. Am I the a-hole for wanting to step in here? Not the a-hole. She's abusing your father. I would have a frank discussion with him about what, if any, benefits he gets out of the marriage. He needs to get a legal separation at the minimum and a divorce, just to protect himself from whatever he is doing. I would like to contact my dad's wife. She hasn't spoken to me since my grandma died, if only so she knows someone is onto her. OP, don't talk to her. Talk to your father like Dallas says. Not Dayhull. Hire a private investigator. Need pictures to show her with other men. She's probably living with another man. Lying to that man and definitely lying to your dad. She's trying to extort money out of him. Get your dad some help. He needs therapy to break out of whatever delusions he is under. Stepmom is diabolical. She doesn't need a baby. She wants money. She will convince him to deposit money in her account so that she can pay for treatment. Have your dad insist that the IVF has to be done in his city. Non-negotiable. Not at A-Hall. I would write the IVF clinic and tell them she and your father have lived 7 hours apart since X date. I would also write that they intend to lie in their forms, and you don't think that is in the best interest of a baby. I have thought about doing that. I don't know how I'd provide evidence though, and whether the clinic would even care. I wish I knew what clinic it was too. It's somewhere 7 hours away where she lives.